Good morning. This is the second of the Sagittal Plane Stability Series. So what we want to do today is talk about the prime movers. The last time we did this, we did the anti-movers or the stability portion. This time we want to create strength in the muscles that actually move, bend, twist, extend, and rotate. So basically, this will be the outer unit. This is what you see. So when you take your shirt off, the six-pack look, that's the outer unit. Previously on the inner unit, that was the internal obliques, transverse abdominis, muscles of the diaphragm, so forth. These are the external obliques and the rectus abdominis primarily, okay, which you're going to use to either rotate or bend or eccentrically extend. So what we'll do is we have a series here as well, a progression, and you want to make sure that you run through the progressions. Again, do not let your athlete jump to the most difficult portion or difficult technique just because their egos are in the way. Make sure that they earn their way to either next apparatus or the next technique in progression, so that you build a base as you move up through the strengthening process. Okay, to help me, I'm going to ask Jim Null to come out, and he'll be our demonstration. First thing we're going to do is we're going to use a stability ball and a crunch. Now, there's some technique that we need to talk about on the ball. So as he goes partially down the ball, his head's going to go back onto the ball, and he's going to drop his hips down a little bit. He's going to move back just a little bit further. Now, when we're doing a crunch here, the body has a flexor chain, which is essentially the muscles here, the hyoid muscles of the neck, the rectus abdominis, and the flexors of the lower body or the leg. And we need them not to be equally strong, but we need them to be proportionally strong. Most time when we do crunches on the floor, we're sitting up and bringing our head forward like this, creating a head forward posture, and we're trying to get away from that head forward posture. We're in Pumse. This is a performance art where we are really curious, or are really serious about posturally correct positions. So we don't want to, in our exercise regimen, train ourselves into that head forward posture when we're doing all the stretching and so forth to take it back out. So to do that, this is how we do the crunch. There will be 3 levels. The first one would be hands straight in front. That would be progression 1. 2 would be hands across the body. The third one will be here with the hand behind his head. Now, all 3 of these will be done in the same fashion, except what will be different is where we put the hands and the arms, which will create more load or more intensity. So the first progression would be hands out in front. What he does is he takes his chin to his chest, then he crunches forward, and then back down to his shoulders, back head on the ball, so that we essentially create this progression. He'll do that several times. The next progression would be with his hands across his chest. Same protocol, chin to the chest, up and crunch, and then back down. Okay? Third one would be hands by his ears. Try not to pull on your neck. You want the neck muscles to actually activate by themselves, and then back down to the ball, chin to the chest, and back up. Now, the only problem that you might run into with this technique is that, see how Jim's head's back on the ball? Some people are going to get dizzy, and it's going to be difficult for them. A lot of women, they'd be more in the S2, later S2, M1 category. They'll have some dizzy problems as they lay their head back on the ball. So to compensate for that, or if you're having a person with a very weak lower abdominal issue, and we want to work more than just the upper end of the rectus abdominis, he drops his hips against the ball, moves his feet in a little tighter. His head's on the ball, but it's in more of a horizontal position, so he's not draped back over the ball. This time, the progressions will be the same: hands out, hands here, and hands by his head. But when he moves, go back to the ball, he's going to bring his head and his hips up at the same time. So they're going to kind of essentially work both ends of the body and then go back to the ball. And they're going to work back up this way. This progression would be the same: hands out in front, hands across his chest, or hands by his head. And this, you will find, actually some people find this more difficult. But this would be very lower abdominal wall oriented, and it would also compensate or adjust for those people that will have problems with their head over the ball and getting dizzy. The next progression will be on the floor. We'll do a crunch on the floor. Now, normally, when people crunch on the floor, they forget that every plane of motion, remember there's three, but the sagittal plane that we're working on, it not only flexes, but it extends. And so this is only half of that movement. So you're going to have to compensate, and we'll show you how to do that later in this progression. But this is only the flexion portion of the sagittal plane. Now, same thing will happen here. He does not want to create head forward posture. A lot of people, when they crunch up, sit up and do me a normal crunch, take your chin forward, Jim. Yeah, they'll do this, where they just pull that chin forward like this, and they're actually creating head forward posture. So to prevent that, or to at least try to guard against it, he's going to take his chin to his chest, then he's going to crunch up and then back down. Back to the floor. Chin to the chest, crunch up, feet down, head to the floor. Now, next level of progression here would be he could straighten one leg up. Now do the same thing. Chin to the chest, crunch, and then back down and back to the floor. Okay? Either leg, he's going to kind of balance it out so he works both sides, right? Both sides at the same time. Okay, that would be another one. Now, another one might be where he merely does he takes a small stability ball and he puts it between his feet, puts his hand straight over his head, and what he's going to do is he's going to exchange the ball between his arms and legs. So up he comes, exchange, all the way back down, come back up, back down, back up, and back down. Okay, that would be one way to do this exchange. Another way would be to, let me get this ball out of the way. Another way would be to merely do a pike. So he's going to lay flat, hands over his head. This is a lot harder. So he wants to sit up with his hands to his ankles, right? There and back down. This is extremely difficult, right? Okay, that would be another way to do that. Now, so that would kind of take care of the flexion portion. We're going to do some extension. So first extension movement, what we're going to do is we're going to use what's called a McKenzie press up. Those of you, say, with a lower back problem can probably do this very comfortably, because the lower back problem is probably because your back is flat, your hips aren't turning, and you've got some kind of discomfort or something down there, and this will allow the spine to extend properly. So his hands are under his shoulders. He's going to keep his hips into the floor. He's going to inhale there and exhale as he comes up. Now, Jim's lower back can be fairly flexible. Put your hips back on the floor. There it goes. Now, his arms will slightly bend. So it's not so important to have your arms straight as it is to push the hips into the floor and create this lumbar curve so we get extension the other side of the crunch movement, right? How we do essentially 10, 15 of these, same way. Inhale down, exhale up. Now, a more static position that we'll get in a extension movement will also help you with head forward posture. Is he's going to lay flat, face forward, his palms are up, and he's going to supinate his hands and bring his feet and shoulders off the floor at the same time. He's going to come up. He can use a rep. He can come up for 2 seconds and back down, so we can do several reps of this. Or he can go back down, come up, hold it for 10 seconds, and then down for 5. So you do a 10-second hold, 5-second rest, and you'd be able to create some load and do it that way. That would be the other extension portion of the sagittal plane in a prime mover. Okay, so I think that completes this series on the sagittal plane. Next time we're going to work transverse or rotational prime mover and stability, and we'll probably get that one into you February or March. Okay, thanks.